विनीता अग्रवाल जी बस अभी गेट पे हैं, वो भी। अच्छा मैडम, आपका भी स्वागत है। संक्षिप्त विवरण देते हुए हम अपने चेयरमैन सर प्रोफेसर जगदीश कुमार सर को, जो हमारे अध्यक्ष यूजीसी हैं, आज के पैनल की अध्यक्षता करेंगे। और विनीता अग्रवाल जी हैं, वो एग्जीक्यूटिव मेंबर NCVET नेशनल काउंसिल फॉर वोकेशनल एजुकेशन ट्रेनिंग हैं। पहले ये डायरेक्टर जनरल नेशनल स्किल डेवलपमेंट एजेंसी में रही हैं और इकोनॉमिक एडवाइज़र भी रह चुकी हैं। मिस्टर अमिताभ नाग जो दूसरे पैनलिस्ट हैं, वो CEO डिजिटल इंडिया भाषिनी डिवीजन एंड डायरेक्टर जनरल इंडिया कॉरपोरेशन इंस्ट्रूमेंटल रहे हैं और उन्होंने नेशनल लैंग्वेज ट्रांसलेशन मिशन की काफ़ी ज़्यादा उसमें काम किया है। और बानी पेंटल धवन हैं, वो गूगल हेड ऑफ एजुकेशन ऑफ इंडिया एंड साउथ एशिया हैं। अब पैनलिस्ट और चेयरमैन सर को वेलकम करते हुए हमारे प्रोफेसर डॉक्टर चंदन श्रीवास्तव इन लोगों को एक छोटा सा प्लांट देंगे। सविनय आग्रह करते हुए हम अपने चेयरमैन सर को आग्रह करते हैं कि वो अध्यक्षता इस पैनल की करें।
Thank you, Archana ji. Very good morning to all the delegates and welcome to the panelists. Yesterday we had a wonderful session and we are continuing that process today also. And today's panel discussion is technology in Bharatiya Bhashas. So that was the topic that was chosen for us for day 2. Let me set the context for this panel discussion. Yesterday, our Honorable Prime Minister, he said, if the country has to progress, there has to be grassroots development. I want to expand on that. Why are we talking about technology in Bharatiya Bhashas? It is closely linked to what the Prime Minister of India has said. Even today, 65% of Indians, they live in rural areas. Half of Indian population is below 25 years. That means half of these 90 crore Indians are below 25 years and they live in rural areas. They speak Bharatiya Bhashas. They think in Bharatiya Bhashas. They work using Bharatiya Bhashas. So therefore, today, as the Prime Minister has said, people recognize the fact that if our country has to progress, there has to be sustainable rural development. And we must come up with interventions and strategies to make sure that these strategies and interventions are in tune with the changing social, economic, and environmental dynamics. So there are 3 things, therefore, we need to do to realize grassroots development. Number 1, we must ensure that there is a diversity of economic activities among the rural communities. We must ensure that local entrepreneurship is promoted so that these diverse economic activities are sustained and expanded. And we must also build on the social capital. And all this is possible only if we emphasize, use, and promote our Bharatiya Bhashas. Today, less than 10% of Indians actually speak, understand English. Nearly 90% of Indians, they use their own Bharatiya Bhashas. So therefore, why can't we develop technologies in Bharatiya Bhashas? Let me give you a couple of examples. There have been so many technological advances made in India well before British came to our country. People did not even hear about English in those times. But we had great engineers, great architects, great designers. We might not have called them using those terminologies. Take the simplest example of wood's steel. This steel was exported out of the country. And even if you try to create that wood's steel now in the lab, we cannot create. It is such advanced technology. We, of course, lost it because it's not documented, it's not passed on from generation to generation. The technology is no longer available. And look at the temple architecture that we have in our country. The Kailash temple in Ellora, one of the greatest technological examples in the world. Take the, often when we construct big buildings, we use the pillars to support the roof. But we have the example of Lepakshi temple, where the pillars are hanging from the roof, and you can actually pass a sheet of paper under the roof. These heavy pillars are hanging. These are the technological marvels that we could create even without using English. So therefore, friends, we need to come out of this mindset that if we have to be a technologically advanced country, we have to necessarily use only English. At the same time, as our Honorable Minister for Education said, we are not against English. We want to learn English to use it as a tool for communication. But when it comes for learning, it has to be in our own mother tongue, in the language that we live and we grow wherever we live. And there are examples across the world. If you look at the top 10 countries in the world which have received the highest number of Nobel Prizes, all the kids in those countries, they study right from school to PhD or university level education in their own mother tongue. On the other hand, if you look at the bottom 10 countries on the GDP ladder, they are mostly countries which were colonized, and then they adopted English instead of using their own mother tongue. So there is a greater need, and it is recognized everywhere, that we must promote our own languages. And India has such diversity of languages, such rich culture associated with the languages. So why can't we use that in technology too? And today we have 3 experts to speak on this theme. We have Dr. Vinita Agrawal and Shri Amitabh Nag and Ms. Bani Paintal Dhawan, with both national and international exposure for developing technologies. So the way we will conduct this program today is that the experts will speak on each of these themes that are given there for us for the panel discussion: operating systems and software localization, search engine localization, digital content platforms, and employment opportunities for studying in Bharatiya language medium. Most importantly, in this panel discussion, the audience plays a crucial role, an important and very interesting role, by shooting questions, interesting questions, and we look forward to your active participation after the panelists present their views. So let me first invite Ms. Bani Paintal Dhawan to make her presentation.
Thank you. Namaskar everyone. Thank you so much. हमेशा जब भी आती हूँ मैं यहाँ पे, especially when it comes to Indian languages, it is not only humbling but also makes me very proud. Not only because I am part of India and how we have grown, but I have also seen Google's journey in India for a very long time. I've been with Google for almost 14 years. तो वो जो journey रही है वो बहुत interesting रही है, and today I'm even more honored to actually talk a bit about it. I lead Google for Education, जो भी हम अपनी technologies as well as platforms introduce कर रहे हैं इंडिया में for education specifically. I lead that group. But I know that as users, all of you must have been touched by various products of Google, whether it's Google Search, whether it's YouTube, whether it's the Android ecosystem, whether it's about actually learning or skilling or actually entertaining. We have products across all of those portfolios. And what is really interesting is कि इस journey में last 14 years that I have been with Google and 25 years, Google is celebrating 25 years this week as a company. I have seen a lot of innovation that actually focuses on users. And some of those very interesting innovations that have come out of India is Google Maps. हम एक जगह से दूसरी जगह इतनी आसानी से पहुंच जाते हैं, हमें डायरेक्शन मिल जाती है, हमारे को अपना एक्सेंट मिल जाता है. That's a lot of work that is going on, behind the screen to actually make that happen. There are large engineering teams in India that are supporting all of these innovations. But I will today focus on what I believe is one of the most essential and important part of what we are talking today. And that relates to my topic, which is education. India में around 230 million internet users हैं जो Indian languages में focus करते हैं या Indian languages में ही internet use करते हैं. And one of the most interesting facts that we have found is that as we go forward, the next few years, there will be more Indian language users that will come on the internet than any other, English-speaking population. That itself speaks of a volume about we as a country and the growth that we are seeing, the Digital India initiatives that have been launched, the Made in India initiatives that have been launched, and we are again honored to be part of that. So what does that mean? अगर इतने सारे Indian language users internet को use करने आ रहे हैं, what do we really need to do as an ecosystem? One of the first and fundamental things that we believe we need to do is access solve करना पड़ेगा उनके लिए. Internet availability solve करनी पड़ेगी. Android as an ecosystem has always been in a small form factor, phones पे. आप सारा कुछ कर सकते हैं, from not only learning but also conducting business, transacting, personal communication. आप सारा कुछ कर पा रहे हैं अपने phones पे. But as we progress into what is going to be an AI first era, it becomes really important कि ये जो सारा ecosystem है that comes together across 4 pillars as I see it. वो 4 pillars क्या हैं? 1, internet access has to become universal. Again, ये already vision established हो गई है. We are all working towards it. But what does that really mean is जब education की बात आती है, we will have to build platforms that support this kind of growth, and we will have to build tech device infrastructure that will be able to support this kind of growth. for Google, it is very, very important that we not only innovate in keeping in mind the Indian users, the Indian language users, what really becomes important is how do we make this affordable? So in keeping with the Government of India policy, what Google has done is we are investing a lot in Made in India. We recently launched the Chromebooks from Google, with HP as a part of the Made in India initiative. And the USP is that these will be very, very affordable devices. Android is a Google product that's already in most of your hands. And we continue to innovate as an user-first product. We are trying to get as many more features as is required, not only to support language users, but also to support the largest Android market in the world, which is India. Again, very, very proud of that. Second, what do we need to do? We need to think of platforms. Platforms means jo transact karenge. Think about technology as enabler. We can enable all of you and the ecosystem for this growth, but it is not about us taking a lead for all of that. We are here to support. We are technology providers who actually provide the right platforms. In that sense, Google has 11 languages that are supported across various platforms, not only for education, but also for consumers, including what I spoke about as in search, YouTube, Android, etc. What do we want from an ecosystem perspective? आपको innovate करना पड़ेगा उन platforms को, वो जो languages already available है इन platforms में, आपको उसमें innovate करना पड़ेगा not only as an app ecosystem, but create the right content for the user. It's not Google's job. It is actually aap sabka, because the internet is aapka. So you will have to build and innovate as entrepreneurs. You will have to build and innovate as educators and teachers. And you will also have to build as government systems where you promote the Indian languages to be part of this large platform. We will do our bit to continue to innovate and also keep challenging us, because when you ask for more, we will give you more. So as users, it is very, very important that you give us that feedback. Third pillar, teacher development, faculty development, getting in tune with what is the latest in technologies. I started by saying in an AI-first era, don't fear it. It's a disruptive time. Absolutely. Adopt it, adapt it, embrace it, learn it, and make sure that whatever we innovate keeping the Indian user in mind. Because again, we will provide the platforms as global technology providers, but what we will do to actually provide that personalization, that uniqueness, that language exclusivity will happen all year in our country. So think, what do my users want? And how do I use the most scalable technology, the open source technologies that are available out there, so that I can reach each and every Indian? And it's also very important that now that we are in the midst of a lot of policymakers, that we create policies that promote this entrepreneurship. We also make policies that actually encourage adoption. Made in India is one such initiative. We are all innovating to not only service the Indian users in the Indian language, but also make it in our own country. And that will benefit and create a lot more jobs. What's the fourth pillar that I think about? The fourth pillar is analytics. The more information we have about our users, what do they want, what is driving change in them, how can we include and change user habits, the further ahead we would be in technology advancements. Again, AI is going to make it very, very simple. We have translation tools, we have transliteration tools, and AI will only manifest it to 10x, maybe even 100x. So what we really need to do is to usko use कैसे करें? वो एक technology या tool है जो सब देशों में आएगी. हम लोग उसको अपना कैसे बना सकते हैं? हम उसको कैसे uniquely adopt कर सकते हैं? And that will come from this academic, group. This big group that is actually passionate about what we need to do for India, but also are technology savvy and will take these products and make it their own. Finally, I would say that when we have events like this and when we bring all of this together, what really encourages me is not only our ideas form, but we also get more educated and we are able to inform each other on what is required to be done. So thank you again for having me, and I look forward to actually supporting the innovation that is happening in the ecosystem. Thank you.
Thank you, Vansi Pentalji. There are two aspects here. What she has said, the new technologies being developed and making them user-friendly so that even if you are using an Indian language, you should be able to use these platforms. But there is another aspect that we need to look at. In olden times, and that was relevant in those times, you developed certain technologies. But in modern times, we had to develop different kind of technologies. Computing platforms, new vaccines, rocket technology, and so on. So when you develop new technologies, making them user-friendly so that you can interact in your own language and using these platforms. But the other important aspect on which we would like all of you to focus on is, can you develop these technologies while using Bharatiya Bhashas, while thinking in Bharatiya Bhashas? That's also very, very important. And people have demonstrated in other countries that without knowing English, they can develop world-class technologies. And we have demonstrated it earlier. And why can't we do it now? And that's another focus area that I would like my panelists also to focus on. I now invite Shri Amitabh Nag to please present his views.
Thank you. I belong to an organization called Digital India Bhashani Division, which is part of Digital India Corporation under Ministry of IT and Electronics. What we do here is that this is the implementation agency for National Language Translation Mission. And the National Language Translation Mission was announced by Finance Minister about 3 years back, after which this mission was formed. And we are on the mission of transcending the language barrier. And transcending the language barrier for 22 scheduled Indian languages as of now, that's what we have taken into our charter. These 22 Indian languages, how we went about it is that we got 70 R&D institutes, research and development institutes together, which included IITs, triple IITs, NITs, etc. We formed about 8 consortiums by which we started executing 8 projects. There were 3 more projects which are there, but those are more on implementation part. And the intent was to actually create artificial intelligence model for translation. The first set of piece which we addressed was speech. The computer should be able to recognize your language, what you speak, in the 22 languages. We do it well in about 12 languages today, plus English. So if you speak in 12 Indian languages, computer would be able to recognize it and transcribe it into the computer language, plus English, right? The second thing which we wanted to do was to translate. So once you have the text into the computer, in one language, can it translate to others? And for that, different artificial intelligence models were developed by these research institutes. And now we, translate one language to other in 22 languages. So we cover all the 22 languages in bidirectional basis. Of course, there are 6 languages which are low resource language, which we may not be up to that standard, but we do rest of the 16 well. The third part of the entire thing was to look at, can computer generate speech on the text which has read on the 22 languages? And that we do well again on 12 languages plus English, and we are on the way to do 22 languages. So what it eventually means is that computer would be able to recognize a speech, it will be able to translate text to text, and it will be able to synthesize the speech. That means that whether you have text in one language, it will get translated. Whether you have audio in one language, it will get translated. And you will be in a position to hear and translate in multiple languages in a bidirectional way. The other project which was there was to look at the optical character recognition. That means whatever is printed, you are able to read it. That we do, again, 22 languages was goal. That means you have given printed text on one language, you should be able to translate in all 22 Indian languages. We do in 14 languages as well. Our project is also to look at the handwritten part of it and also to look at the scenic text. Scenic text is when something is printed out there, you want to put your mobile and know what it is, so, it can be taken off. So that is another thing. And then there are transliteration. Transliteration simply would mean that, computer is called computer in almost all the languages, although there are alternate words, but you still want to transliterate. Names are generally transliterated, it is not translated. So, that's another part of the things which we are doing, and we almost do today on 22 languages. And this is based on APIs, based on AI model, and when it is fully developed, perhaps it would be one of the largest use cases of AI. Language anyway is a large use case of AI. So, this is going to be deployed here. Now, when we start looking at this, this entire plethora of what we are trying to do and how we are trying to do, we went across to look at what are the use cases. And when Bani talked about entrepreneurship, and that's where the new use cases started coming up. We recently launched an app for the farmer, which is on which the farmer can, it's for the PM Kisan. So Prime Minister transfers monetary benefit to the farmers every quarter. And that is actually, farmers do have a problem because there are many in number who have problem in receiving those money things. The earlier way, or the way it was, the grievance were to be redressed was that, or what has happened has to be thought through was he had to visit the various offices to figure that out. The chatbot today, what it does is that you can speak out, bhugtan nahi hua, and the app will actually ask for your Aadhaar number, it will ask for your OTP, and it will actually take you through the journey till it's given the answer why the bhugtan has not happened. And, obviously this is launched about a week and a half back. There is a press release which is there. There is a number which you all can experience. This is which we have done with NPCI. When you dial that number, you can say ki paisa bhejna hai, in your vernacular language, and then it takes you through the journey till the payment is made. So that is again a multilingual activity which is being done, and multilingual, multimodal. So when we talk about this is multilingual, multimodal, and you are in a position to do the payment. You will reorganize this, and the things will happen that you will be able to make payments on their own. So when we are looking at this, we are actually creating those solutions on ground to ensure that you are doing your job in a vernacular language, besides, of course, thinking and talking about. The third one which we have actually implemented, and this was also launched in June by Reserve Bank of India, was a credit platform. The farmer's credit is based on the land records, and land records are in different stages. States are in vernacular language, and the banks may be in some other states, they might understand different languages, and banks used to insist that the land records get translated before the loans can be provided, because banks wanted to be very sure about the credit possibilities of the farmers. And the public tech platform which the Reserve Bank of India launched actually uses Bhashni services to transliterate the land records so that the Kisan credit can be dispersed very quickly. And what RBI governor said when in the Global Finance Festival, that his target is to make the credit available within 10 minutes instead of 2 months, which it takes now to do this particular activity. We again worked with CP Grams, the grievance redressal portal with Prime Minister, to ensure that the complaints are registered in local vernacular languages. So that's another initiative which we had taken. We are thinking that how we can incorporate voice in it so that the person comes in and says something, at the CSC or the computer, and it is registered as a complaint in the application with the voice transcripted and reaching to the department. The AI-based solution actually routed to the respective, departments as such. So if you look at it, the idea is to make the services and the interaction through in a local language. Besides this, of course, we have almost translated and experimented about 10,000 videos of Swayam and NPTEL to another language using the tool. And we would be doing more in that direction. So it's a multimodal approach to ensure that we are using the language translation, tools to communicate, help people communicate, collaborate, invent, and discover for their own benefit in future. All this is not, easy. All this is requiring a lot of effort, and there is a lot of collaboration which is required. I wanted to stress upon that so that, we are able to, seek everybody's support for that. One is, of course, the entrepreneurship support, which new ideas will come in and new things will work. The industry already is supporting. There are a lot of initiatives which we would be announcing, especially with Google in future, and that's going to be hallmark. Most of the initiatives are in the direction of looking at the data. The AI models heavily depend upon data. We are going to have, one of the projects which we had actually collected data all across India. We have 200 plus people on ground who have a app on their mobile with certain pictures, and they ask people to speak in their own dialect about that picture. And that is something which we are capturing and training the AI model after annotating and labeling the data and taking the noise out of that data. We would be doing that more, and it would be about more than 200,000 hours of speech data collected across from all the 500 districts so that we are able to train the models accordingly. So that's number one. Number two is that we need to build glossaries which are domain specific. Again, requires a lot of domain intervention. Agriculture has a different glossary at a national level as well as at a regional level, and collaboration with state government and, the nodal ministries is on card so that we can incorporate that into our glossary and train the AI models accordingly. And then we obviously require continuous feedback and testing, because the opportunity for improvement on AI model is quite a lot. It can always be improved to reach that 100% which we are seeking. That is going to be our target and task. And obviously, we have our own variants of language, the way we speak. We have our own variants of the way we are looking at communicating with each other. So there would be issues with respect to how you communicate and I communicate, but those bridges can be sorted out once we keep training the AI model. So these are some live cases and the work which has been done indigenously to your question. And I think we are on the journey of perhaps impacting about 20 crore to 30 crore people by March 2024 through our services.
Thank you, Amitabh ji. I'm going to ask a question to the audience. Let me see how many of you will raise your hand. ఈ సభా ప్రాంగణంలో కూర్చున్న వాళ్ళలో ఎంతమందికి తెలుగు అర్థమవుతుంది? మీ చేతులు లేపండి. So what I said, those who are sitting here in this audience, how many of you understand Telugu? So some of you have risen. But a day is not far away. When I say the same thing, I'm sure the entire audience will raise their hand, because you will have the apps which will instantly translate what I said in Telugu into your own mother tongue.
So one intervention. You have today Bhashni app available on beta language on the Apple Store as well as Google. Please download it, and perhaps what he spoke right now, had you fed it into it, you would have got the answer.
Right. So that is the direction in which the technologies are developing now. But two key points that I would like to again bring back to your attention. One is the personalized education that she mentioned, and then the employment opportunities for students who study in Bharatiya languages. The national education policy puts a great emphasis on educating our students in Bharatiya languages, both at the school level and also in the university. Now there are a lot of efforts in providing the textbooks in Bharatiya Bhashas, both AICTE and UGC, they are working on this. And our Honorable President of India launched this March a portal, and all these books in Indian languages are available on this portal, and thousands and lakhs of students are downloading these books. Ultimately, our goal is to create technologies using Bharatiya languages, thinking in Bharatiya languages, communicating in Bharatiya languages. And that is possible only when our students are educated in Bharatiya languages. So let me now invite Dr. Vinita Agarwal to present her views.
Hello. Thank you, Chairman. I will just start from where the last speaker ended. अभी हम बात कर रहे थे कि everybody will understand the language that is being spoken, whether it is Telugu or Tamil. Interestingly, recently I had gone to Japan, और वहाँ पर language was a big barrier, क्योंकि Japanese समझना उनको ना English समझ आती है और ना हमको Japanese समझ आती है. So Google Translator was such a big help. Everything could be done on Google Translator. So technology could be like we survived for 15 days entirely on Google Translator. Right, reading the menu also, talking to anybody, seeking directions, everything was Google Translator. So technology has like, it is limitless in that sense. तो हम आज भारतीय भाषाओं की बात कर रहे हैं, क्योंकि भारतीय भाषा को प्रोत्साहन देना क्यों ज़रूरी है. पहला कि वो हमारी धरोहर, and secondly, as Professor Jagdish Kumar had mentioned in his opening remarks, कि हमारे यहाँ almost 60 to 65% people, he said, live in the rural areas, and 60 से 70% या maybe 90% तक लोग अपनी भारतीय भाषा में ही पढ़ते हैं. I'll just quote an example कि मेरे यहाँ एक maid की daughter, वो एक NDMC स्कूल में दिल्ली में जाती थी, and she used to come to study from me. वो उसकी किताबें सब इंग्लिश में थी, उसके घर में सारा हिंदी में बात होता था. स्कूल में आई डोंट नो वेदर दे टॉट इन हिंदी और इंग्लिश, बट द बुक्स वर इन इंग्लिश. नॉट टू टीच सोशल साइंस टू हर, उसको छोटे छोटे वर्ड्स इंग्लिश के समझ नहीं आते थे. सो वॉट एवर आई टॉट हर, वो पहले हर वर्ड का मीनिंग हिंदी में लिखती थी ऊपर. सो टू अ चाइल्ड लाइक दैट, 9th और 10th में अगर वो एग्ज़ाम लिखने जाएगी, उसको तो क्वेश्चन ही समझ नहीं आएगा. So I told her mother that इसको आप हिंदी स्कूल में डाल दो, हिंदी मीडियम स्कूल में. At least she'll understand. She's a good student, but she's not able to perform well because language is a barrier. But the kind of mindset we have, she thought कि मैं English medium से हिंदी medium में क्यों डालूँ अपने बच्चे को. And as a result, her child kept failing every year. So I think language का जो एक barrier है हमारे देश में, उसको हटाना बहुत ज़रूरी है. अगर मैं वोकेशनल स्किल्स की बात करूं, वोकेशनल एजुकेशन एंड ट्रेनिंग, जिस ऑर्गेनाइजेशन से मैं आती हूं NCVT से, जो कि वोकेशनल ट्रेनिंग में है, सो वहाँ पर 90% से ज़्यादा लोग वो हैं या तो वो पढ़े लिखे नहीं हैं, या अगर पढ़े हैं तो वो वर्नाक्युलर लैंग्वेज में पढ़े हैं. तो इसलिए ये बहुत ज़रूरी है कि अगर हम स्किलिंग उनको दे रहे हैं तो इंस्ट्रक्शन हमारी लोकल लैंग्वेज में होना चाहिए. सारा कंटेंट जो है, एवरीथिंग शुड बी अवेलेबल इन लोकल लैंग्वेजेस. Only then meaningful learning can take place. और जैसे कि अभी बात हुई कि UGC और AICTE are already on that path, and NEP also emphasizes कि भाई हम भारतीय लैंग्वेज में ही पढ़ाई करें. So अगर NCVT की तरफ से देखें कि हमने भी बहुत सारे एफर्ट्स किए हैं कि भारतीय लैंग्वेज में पढ़ाई हो सके या स्किलिंग हो सके. वन, हम लोग काफ़ी सारी क्वालिफिकेशंस और जॉब जो पहले सिर्फ सिर्फ इंग्लिश में होते थे। सो अभी हमने ये अनिवार्य कर दिया है कि सारी क्वालिफिकेशंस इंग्लिश के साथ साथ हिंदी या जो भी भारतीय लैंग्वेज जहाँ पर भी ट्रेनिंग हो रही है उसमें डेवलप हो, और करिकुलम भी सारा उन्हीं लैंग्वेजेस में आए। और जब ट्रेनिंग स्टार्ट हो तो उनका एक कमिटमेंट चाहिए कि वो कंटेंट भी अवेलेबल करेंगे लोकल लैंग्वेजेस में। और एक बहुत इम्पॉर्टेंट चीज़ जो हमने की है कि ब्लेंडेड लर्निंग गाइडलाइंस निकाली हैं। ब्लेंडेड लर्निंग मतलब जो स्किलिंग सिर्फ हैंड्स ऑन होती थी पहले, अब वो ऑनलाइन मोड में भी होगी और ऑफलाइन मोड में भी होगी। तो उसके लिए भी टेक्नोलॉजी को समझना वो एक स्टूडेंट के लिए, लर्नर के लिए बहुत ज़रूरी है। इसीलिए जो हमने एक एवरी ट्रेनी हु अंडरगोज ट्रेनिंग नीड्स टू डू अ कोर्स ऑन एम्प्लॉयबिलिटी स्किल्स। और एम्प्लॉयबिलिटी स्किल्स का एक बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट कंपोनेंट है डिजिटल लिटरेसी, ताकि वो छोटी छोटी चीज़ें जो अपनी रोज़मर्रा की ज़िंदगी में जो पढ़ाई के लिए उसके लिए ज़रूरी हैं, ही और शी इज़ एबल टू अंडरस्टैंड दैट। सो दैट इज़ अ वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट पार्ट ऑफ दैट। देन सेकेंडली, हम लोग के लिए जो असेसमेंट एजेंसीज़ को हम लोग रिकग्नाइज़ करते हैं, उसके लिए एक बहुत मैंडेटरी रिक्वायरमेंट है कि उनका जो टेक्नोलॉजी प्लेटफॉर्म है, it should be able to give the option of assessment in vernacular language. So that has also been made mandatory. तो अभी हमारी almost 2500 plus qualifications हैं, जो कि legacy qualifications हैं उनमें से काफ़ी, उनमें से 1300 plus already हिंदी में translate हो चुके हैं, हिंदी या regional language में, depending Indian language में, depending on कि training कहाँ पर हो रहा है। और जो एक बहुत बड़ी एक इम्पॉर्टेंट चीज़ है कि अगर हम कोई भी स्कीम भी चलाते हैं, सपोज़ हम जो स्कीम चला रहे हैं उन लोगों के लिए चला रहे हैं जो कि उतने पढ़े लिखे नहीं हैं या वर्नाक्युलर लैंग्वेज में पढ़े हैं, हर एक स्कीम में एक बच्चे को रजिस्टर करना पड़ता है ऑनलाइन। अगर मैं आज स्किलिंग की बात करूं, हमारा इतना एफर्ट जाता है कि हमारी जितनी भी वेबसाइट है वो यूज़र फ्रेंडली हो, ताकि बच्चा अगर सर्च करना चाहे कि क्या ऑप्शंस हैं स्किलिंग के, कहाँ पर मैं जा सकता हूँ, तो वो सब ऑप्शंस उसको पता होने चाहिए। बट वो सब तभी हो सकता है व्हेन द टेक्नोलॉजी इज़ यूज़र फ्रेंडली, जब वो अपनी भाषा में सर्च कर सके और वो देख सके कि भाई कहाँ पर क्या अवेलेबल है और उसका वो फ़ायदा उठा सके। सो व्हेन वी आर डेवलपिंग ऑल दिस, वी हैव टू कीप द लर्नर इन माइंड कि हम अपने हिसाब से सोचते हैं, अपनी तरफ से सोचते हैं, बट द लर्नर हैज़ टू बी एबल टू यूज़ इट, बिकॉज वो जो फियर ऑफ टेक्नोलॉजी है दैट हैज़ टू बी रिमूव्ड। और जैसे कि अभी हमने बात की कि टेक्नोलॉजी इंडिया में हमेशा से अवेलेबल थी, बट ऑफ कोर्स इट वाज नॉट लेबल्ड कि हाँ हमारी टेक्नोलॉजी वाज लाइक बिल्डिंग की बात हुई, हमारे मंदिर, एवरीवेयर टेक्नोलॉजी वाज देयर। आज हमारे जो कारीगर काम करते हैं, दे आर वेरी गुड इन डिज़ाइनिंग, बट दे कैन डू मच बेटर। फॉर इंस्टेंस, अगर हम कहीं कंप्यूटर एडेड डिज़ाइनिंग है, सो उसके लिए भी उनको टेक्नोलॉजी को जानना बहुत ज़रूरी है। और अगर हम आज हर चीज़ को ट्रांसलेट करना चाहते हैं भारतीय लैंग्वेजेस, वी हैव 22 भारतीय लैंग्वेजेस, वी हैव सो मेनी मोर डायलेक्ट्स एंड सो मेनी मोर लैंग्वेजेस इन दिस कंट्री। सो ट्रांसलेटिंग इन ईच एंड एवरी लैंग्वेज इटसेल्फ मे बी डिफ़िकल्ट, बट जैसे अभी बात हुई कि टेक्नोलॉजी कैन हेल्प सो दैट कि आप अपनी जो भी भाषा में बोलें, इट विल ट्रांसलेट एवरीथिंग, ऑल द कंटेंट फॉर यू। And that is, I think, how the digital platforms today, they are now focusing on non-English speaking students, and that is a very very important step forward. And अगर हम employability की बात करें, employability के लिए important है कि skill अच्छा होना चाहिए। Innovation is language agnostic. It is not that कि अगर आप अपनी जिस भाषा में सोचते हैं, if language is not a barrier, then you can think and you can come out with innovation. Otherwise, you get stuck with the language barrier only. So that is why for employability, what is important is the skill you acquire and not the language in which you acquire. And the skill you can acquire better if it is done in your mother tongue and you understand what is being taught. But जैसे कि हमारे Honorable Prime Minister ने कहा, India should be the skilling capital of the world. उसके लिए we should also keep in mind that English as a language of communication is also important, and maybe that can be taught as a second language, whereas the learning takes place in Bharatiya language, but English as a language for communication should also continue so that we are able to exploit the global markets. Thank you.
So, developing applications, developing technologies to remove language barriers is one aspect. But the central aspect of all our discussion is how do we provide education to our students in their own Bharatiya Bhashas? How do we provide skills to them in their own Bharatiya Bhashas so that they think, they work in Indian languages, and then when they want to communicate with the global community, they will use this English language as a tool to communicate with the rest of the world. Already there have been enough research which shows that if a child is educated in mother tongue during the initial period, and if the child learns the English language at a later stage, that is one group. And the other group, the child's mother tongue is not English, but right from the beginning, the child learns only English. And when they compared these two groups, they found that the first group of children, they are much more creative, much more expressive. They can explain much more complicated things in a very simple way. So therefore, becoming stronger, learning your own mother tongue during your initial years is extremely important. Recently, a district collector in India found that from a particular village, a lot of videos are being uploaded on YouTube and millions of people are watching it. And these kids, they never studied beyond their school in the village and they don't know English. So the collector went and saw that there is a real talent among the kids there, and the collector has decided to set up a video editing lab there, and the collector has decided to provide computer programming and other skills to those kids so that they become entrepreneurs, they will become social influencers. So there is enormous talent across the country, especially in rural areas, and that's the reason why we must ensure that our kids are educated in their mother tongue so that ultimately they become great scientists and engineers and who think in their own Bharatiya Bhashas. Now, we also need to think about, my colleagues coming from different domains based on their experience, they have expressed their views, but then we have here multitude of views in the audience. It is now for you to raise questions, to put forward suggestions, to how do we take this forward into future so that what we are discussing today will become normal things. We don't think it as something out of the way. So I now invite the audience to please stand up and put your question, and our volunteer will bring the microphone to you.
सुप्रभात, सभी को प्रणाम। प्रणाम सर।
Yes.
सभी को प्रणाम है सर। कल से हम यहाँ पे चर्चा में रूबरू हो रहे हैं। आई एम द जॉइंट डायरेक्टर इन SCRT उत्तराखंड, एक नवोदित राज्य है। यहाँ पर दो तरह की हमारे सामने समस्याएं हैं। एक तो भारतीय भाषा में जब हम बात करते हैं इंग्लिश को छोड़कर हिंदी को हम ऑल ओवर राष्ट्र में ले सकते हैं, लेकिन जब हम NEP 20 की बात करते हैं तो उसमें स्कूल एजुकेशन में बाल वाटिका हमारे यहाँ पर लॉन्च हो चुकी है। उसके बाद बाल वाटिका से ही हमें क्षेत्रीय भाषा को लेना है NEP के अंतर्गत। अब उसमें दो तरह के हैं कि हम किस तरीके से, जैसे उत्तराखंड का मैं उदाहरण दूं, वहाँ पर 19 स्थानीय भाषाएं हैं जो बोली जा रही हैं। तो हमारे सामने राष्ट्रीय स्तर पर भी टास्क है कि हम कैसे क्षेत्रीय भाषाएं, अलग अलग क्षेत्रीय भाषाएं, चाहे नॉर्थ ले लीजिए, ईस्ट लीजिए। उसके बाद हम उत्तराखंड में जाएंगे। उत्तराखंड के अंदर भी फिर 19 क्षेत्रीय भाषाएं होंगी। उनमें भी हमें हर बच्चे तक, बाल वाटिका तक, प्री प्राइमरी एजुकेशन तक उस भाषा को पहुंचाना है। उसमें हम तकनीक का प्रयोग स्कूल एजुकेशन में, प्री प्राइमरी में किस प्रकार कर सकते हैं, ये हमारे सामने सबसे बड़ा चैलेंज है। और इस चैलेंज के लिए हम सब मिलकर कार्य करें अपने अपने राज्यों में, इसमें हमें आपसे गाइडलाइन चाहिए। थैंक यू सर।
Right. All of us agree that there are challenges in implementing what we are discussing now, especially in places like Uttarakhand or in northeastern region where there are a lot of variations in language. But I'm sure if we put our heads together, we can come up with solutions using technology. Right. Yeah.
हेलो नमस्कार सर.
Please go ahead. Yeah. Oh no, it's not switched on.
हेलो नमस्कार सर, मेरा नाम विनोद शर्मा है.
एक मिनट रुकिए. हाँ.
Hello. Yeah. This is Vijay Kumar from BITS Pilani, and I would like to thank two of our speakers who have effortlessly switched between two languages to communicate the ideas in an academic forum where English has always been the dominant language. So in that brings me to the context of producing course materials for engineering and science and technology discourses. And I've gone through some of the textbooks outside, and they are written in different Indian languages. So what are the problems? Although I have studied, my schooling was in Telugu, and when I looked at those textbooks, I found it a bit challenging to go through the contents, although I read every day Telugu newspapers. So one of the challenges is to translate technicality and abstraction, which for a long time that we have been used to. And these textbooks seem to be translating 100% from English to the regional language. And that seems to be a concern. And is there a way that Google can take it up into taking this technicality as a popular discourse that can be first shared with people around in the world, and through that we can integrate bilingual dictionaries as part of the materials that you create for these engineering and science and technology? This is one of the things. The second thing is a lot of Indians are also students of different mother tongues for which there is no script. So we've been thinking about translating into languages that have a script, and the corpus is available for you to choose from. And so, as Sir was rightly pointing out a while ago, that we have to reach out to every single individual, and includes the population whose languages are not there in the written form. So are we ignoring a large number of people whose languages are not there in the written scripts, and also some of the languages are dying? So what is the way out? Like, are we only focusing on official languages and trying to look at them and ignoring some of these? And if we are trying to make a switch into regional languages, in particularly science and domain, how do we address the issues of technicality? That are we going for a kind of a reverse engineering and trying to address both issues from English and the regional languages? So this is my concern.
Right. Yeah, please go ahead.
Yeah, so, you had raised two major issues. One is that are we ignoring some of the languages which is there, means we are only focusing on 22 and not focusing on others, and that was one of the concerns which was raised. Yes, India is a place where perhaps at every 50 kilometers language changes. At least the dialect changes if the language itself does not change. And you're also right that some of the languages do not have the script. As a first phase, of course, we are trying to handle 22 languages back, because that's itself is a task. When I said that, we are using voice, we are trying to address the languages where there is no script, so that, we can use the voice technology to actually, understand and make those things work. The second thing is that, the idea of collecting data from all across the 500 districts is that we should be in a position to capture all the dialects, so that we can, address the dialect issue and the other languages issue also. A rough study shows that, India has about more than 80 to 90 languages, or close to 100 languages, which are being spoken by 100,000 plus people, right? So there are 90 languages which, 100,000 plus people speak in India. So it will be, difficult to count and say that which all languages we will address right now. So we have chosen and prioritized on 22, but it is not that we are ignoring the rest, and there is an effort to actually address the last mile to make it inclusive. So that's one part of it. Second is regarding technicalities. Of course, Bani can answer on the Google's part of it, but on the technicalities, yes, there is a first phase of what you see today is first phase. Yeah, the feedbacks are welcome, and I think this would improve over a period of time.
Right. Next question.
थैंक यू सर. सर मेरा नाम विनोद शर्मा है. सर मैं ये पूछ रहा, टेक्नोलॉजी जो भारत की जो लैंग्वेज है उसमें जो इंग्लिश भाषा में ही सब कुछ हो रहा है, बल्कि जब हम गूगल पे, जैसे मैम ने बताया है कि जब हम अनुवाद करते हैं तो इंग्लिश के शब्द को हिंदी भाषा में जब अनुवाद करते हैं, लेकिन उसका शब्द है वो तो ले लेते हैं, लेकिन जो वास्तविक जो भाव है वो नहीं ले पाता वो ऐप्स के माध्यम से। अगर हम हिंदी और संस्कृत भाषा में अगर हम बोलते हैं तो हमें ध्येय दृष्टि से देखा जाता है, अगर हम इंग्लिश में बोलते हैं तो हमें एक अच्छे पर्सनालिटी व्यक्ति के रूप में देखा जाता है। तो सर, हम टेक्नोलॉजी के माध्यम से इसको किस तरीके से उसको सही कर सकते हैं, ताकि, क्योंकि भारत में जनसंख्या सबसे ऊपर है ना पूरे विश्व में, तो हमें अपनी हिंदी मातृभाषा जो है, जो राजकीय भाषा, उसको बढ़ावा देना चाहिए। संस्कृत जो है, जो कि एक वैज्ञानिक भाषा है, खुद नासा ने भी इसको स्वीकार किया है, तो हमें टेक्नोलॉजी के माध्यम से उनके हम जो भी अनुवाद करते हैं उनके हम भाव को कैसे उपयोग कर सकते हैं। तो सर, इसके ऊपर थोड़ा आप अपने विचार दे दीजिए। और दूसरी बात, एक छोटा सा और क्वेश्चन है, हम एजुकेशन से पीएचडी कर रहे हैं, तो हमें जैसे यूजीसी के जो गाइड होती है उसके अनुसार हमें पाश्चात्य दर्शन पढ़ाया जाता है, ना कि भारतीय दर्शन, क्योंकि बहुत सारी चीज़ें हैं, बहुत सारे विद्वान हुए हैं, ऋषि मुनि हुए, किंतु हमें प्लेटो, अस्तूरी इत्यादि मैले प्राश्चित जो दर्शन के जो विद्वान हैं उनको ही पढ़ाया जाता है। अब भारतीय परंपरा में इतने बड़े बड़े कनाद ऋषि हो गए, कपिल मुनि हुए, पतंजलि हुए, उनको नहीं पढ़ाया जाता, क्यों, ऐसा क्यों? तो सर, ये टेक्नोलॉजी के माध्यम से आप विवरण दीजिए। थैंक यू।
You have spoken about two things. One is the Indian knowledge systems, right? Teaching that to our students, that's a different domain on which we are focusing. But, when there is a translation, yesterday Dr. Sridhar Vembu said that there is a classical Tamil and there is a conversational Tamil. Tomorrow, if you open your newspaper, if it is written in Shakespearean English, I'm sure you will not be able to read it, right? So similarly, when we translate these books into Bharatiya Bhashas, we must ensure that it is in the conversational language. Most textbooks that I have studied, they are like that. That is why you can understand. But to the point that he has mentioned, that when he reads a book in Bharatiya Bhasha, he finds it a bit difficult. That is because, let's say, I have studied in English medium right from my childhood, and I know that language, I speak and write, and if I try to read it in my language, I may find it a bit odd. But if I have studied in Telugu medium since my childhood, which I did until 12th standard, I studied only in Telugu. When I read a translated version, I may not find it odd. So there are variations, there are challenges, and so on. But over a period of time, we will overcome this. Remember, it is only after NEP 2020 has come that we are talking about Indian languages. We are talking about how to use this in our everyday life, in our education, in the technology, and so on. So we have made a beginning, and we see that across the country, there is overwhelming support for introduction of Bharatiya languages everywhere in education and technology and so on. And we will learn from this experience and overcome the challenges that will come on our way.
I would like
Good
to
morning.
add,
Good morning,
आपने
sir.
इंडियन नॉलेज सिस्टम की बात कही, तो अभी बहुत फोकस है गवर्नमेंट का ऑन डेवलपिंग दिस इंडियन नॉलेज सिस्टम, चाहे वो स्किलिंग के क्षेत्र में हो, चाहे वो एजुकेशन के क्षेत्र में हो, तो बहुत स्पेशल उसके ऊपर फोकस है।
Good morning,
हेलो
sir.
सर, मैं राधाकृष्ण यादव।
Hello.
सर, मैं राधाकृष्ण यादव, रिसर्च स्कॉलर। सर, आपने जैसा पहले ही कहा था कि 60 या 65% रूरल एरिया में पॉपुलेशन रहती है, तो मैं भी रूरल एरिया से बिलोंग करता हूँ और कानपुर देहात से। सर, मैं जानना चाहता हूँ कि आप टेक्नोलॉजी से भाषाओं को जोड़ रहे हैं, लेकिन उस जो यूथ टेक्नोलॉजी भाषा को नहीं पढ़ना, टेक्नोलॉजी से भाषा को नहीं जोड़ना चाहता, क्योंकि शायद उसको रोजगार नहीं मिल रहा है, तो सरकार इस विषय में क्या सोच रही है कि उसको रोजगार प्राप्त हो, पहली बात। और बाइलिंगुअल सरकार बाइलिंगुअल किसी चीज़ को क्यों नहीं करना चाह रही है? सपोज दैट मैं बैंक में जाता हूँ, ऐसी टिपिकल भाषा यूज की जाती है कि उसको जो रूरल एरिया में रहने वाली पॉपुलेशन उसको नहीं समझ पाती है, क्योंकि 60 या 75 तक जो पॉपुलेशन है अधिक से अधिक रूरल एरिया में ही बिलोंग करती है। तो आई होप कि सबसे ज़्यादा यूथ भी रूरल एरिया में ही होगा। वो यूथ इसलिए नहीं जुड़ना चाहता है कि शायद उसको रोजगार नहीं मिल पा रहा है। तो रोजगार के लिए भाषाओं के माध्यम से कैसे प्राप्त हो सकता है यूथ को, क्योंकि आजकल यूथ रोजगार पर शिक्षा प्राप्त करना चाहता है। तो यूजीसी एंड सरकार इसके विषय में क्या चिंतन कर रही है?
देखिए, by 2030, India is going to become the third largest drone hub in the world. That's our goal. And drones are going to be used extensively, and more so in the rural areas. Today, in this year, there are about 1 lakh drone operators in India, and that number, the requirement for the drone operators is going to increase exponentially as more drones are used. Now, who will be the drone operators? It is the youth. It is the youth who are coming and working in the rural areas. Do they really need the knowledge of English to operate drones? It's not required. They can still be trained in their own mother tongue. And that is why I said in the beginning that there is a greater need to expand the economic activities of our rural youth by training them in their own mother tongue, in their own local language. Similarly, how do you bring financial inclusivity? How do you make sure that the product that they develop locally, it could be artisan crafts, it could be small scale industry products, you want to provide access to them in a global market. We have now open network, digital commerce platform, and so many such things are coming. So the employability will increase automatically once you promote local entrepreneurship by using your own languages and by overcoming the barriers between global market and your own innovations using technology. They can have access to the global markets. So there are many such things that are in the process, and to see the impact of all these technologies that are being developed, we need to discuss more, we need to brainstorm and take this forward.
So a few things which we are wanting to do and which is on the pipeline. Like Professor talked about, open network data commerce. There, of course, we are collaborating with them to make it multilingual and make it voice-based. So in the sense that the rural artisan should be in a position to catalog its product using the voice and put the inventory using the voice. So what we are trying to do is that we have two, one is the language barrier, second is the digital divide, and third is the literacy divide. I hope that with the voice technologies which we are developing, we will be bridging all three in some way or the other. We may not be able to bridge everything. So ONDC becoming multilingual, you talked about banks. We are working with RBI Innovation Hub to make banking as voice-based banking. So we have already made payment as voice-based payment, which is right now in Hindi and English. And if you are using, the other languages will be available soon. Similarly, the other initiatives will also take shape soon. So I think it's a matter of time before we are in a position to address that.
Hello. Good morning, sir. I'm Bani Preet Kaur, research scholar from University School of Education, Guru Gobind Singh Impress University. सर मेरे एक्चुअली कुछ कंसर्न्स हैं, ना कि क्वेश्चंस हैं. एक्चुअली मैं जैसे अभी हम लोग बात कर रहे थे कि हम लैंग्वेज ट्रांसलेट करेंगे, तो इंटर लैंग्वेज कॉपीराइट इश्यूज़ को कैसे हैंडल करा जा सकता है आगे, क्योंकि ये एक बहुत बड़ा चैलेंज होगा. क्योंकि जब अगर कोई लोकल राइटर या लोकल पोएट कोई अपनी भाषा में अगर कुछ लिखते हैं और उसको कोई दूसरा भाषा में ट्रांसलेट कर लेता है और उसको प्रॉपर क्रेडिट नहीं मिलता, सो हाउ विल यू हैंडल दिस इशू? And second is upcoming Digital India Bill. So that asks for the transparency in AI algorithms. यूज़र को राइट मिलेगा, उसमें काफ़ी सारे राइट्स की बात करी जा रही है, तो उसको कंपनीज कैसे, गूगल लाइक कंपनीज, हाउ विल दे हैंडल दिस इश्यूज़? एंड थर्ड इज़ ऑथरशिप इश्यूज़. लाइक अभी जैसे जनरेटिव एआई आया था, तो उसमें कंटेंट आप डालते हैं तो इट रिस्पॉन्ड्स, लाइक इट जनरेट्स द कंटेंट. सो हाउ यू थिंक दैट आगे चल के ऑथरशिप इश्यूज़ आएंगे, या आप आगे यूजीसी के आगे चल के इसके बारे में कोई पॉलिसी या गाइडलाइंस निकालेगा, लाइक गिविंग द ऑथरशिप टू ChatGPT or the person who is putting the prompt and getting the answer from it? So how will you handle these authorship challenges? Thank you very much.
Right. Maybe first, may I request you to address some of those issues?
Sure. So I think at the beginning, I would like to address that AI is at a very, very nascent stage. So there is a lot of responsibility that we have as Google, and we are very, very sure that it has to be driven with that responsibility as well as the ethics question that you are talking about. There is already a lot of conversation that is happening. On Google side, we are very conscious of that, and what we are launching for education is our product, AI, generative AI product, our conversational AI products are very, very selective in what we have launched. Google ka Bard hai, that is a conversational AI product, and we've launched it in search. It is not available across education products at this point in time, precisely for what you have just mentioned. And also, जैसे मैंने पहले भी बोला था, that the idea is not कि हम AI को कैसे use कर सकते हैं या कहाँ पे block कर सकते हैं. There has to be an ecosystem debate कि what will work, where we are in our development as a country, and how will policies and responsibilities of companies like us come together to create a very healthy environment. Having said that, जो इंडिया प्रोडक्ट हमने लॉन्च किया है ऑन लैंग्वेज स्पेसिफिकली फॉर प्राइमरी स्कूल्स इज कॉल्ड रीड अलोंग. रीड अलोंग में एक चैट बॉक्स है, उसका नाम है दिया. दिया जो भी इंडियन भाषा आप हम डालेंगे उसका कंटेंट वो उसी भाषा में बात करेगी, which means that the kind of input that we will get has to be an ecosystem effort. Whether वो हम SCRT से बात करके वो content डालेंगे या फिर हम national level में दीक्षा के पास जाके बोलते हैं कि this is the kind of content that should be available. The intent is कि जब end user है, the learner है, वो अपनी भाषा में सुन सके, वो अपने context में सुन सके, examples भी उसी का context आए. That is what the AI layer will be able to do. So, like I said, there has to be a very, very important balance. किस सिचुएशन में वो अप्लाई किया जाएगा, किस सिचुएशन में नहीं किया जाएगा, what are the policies that govern it. But you have to realize कि since it's early days, you cannot stop innovation, but what you should do is conscious innovation. And all of your issues will definitely get addressed in the long term. I also want to end by saying that information technology and the fear of computers and PCs कि सबके jobs चले जाएंगे, हम कहीं पे आगे नहीं बढ़ सकते हैं, that hasn't helped. That was negative thinking. अगर आज हमारे पास phone नहीं होगा, तो आप सोच सकते हैं अपनी life. और हमारा next generation वो तो जमते सार ही शुरू हो जाते हैं. उनका तो ABCD भी I think क भी उधर से ही शुरू हो रहा है. So we cannot fear technology. We have to embrace it and then create laws. And we as companies have equal responsibility. So watch the space is what I will say.
Hello.
Respected, yeah. Go ahead.
Respected chairperson of the UGC, Dr. Jitendra Singh sir, and respected professors and my dear friends. My query is that what the chairperson of the UGC chairman I stated about English is not a language, rather a tool to use it in a technical way for the enhancement of our own language, mother tongue. I think I agree with this, but for the rapid growth of technology, in order to use language is not so important for the society, because I am from Odisha. I am assistant professor in BHU, Philosophy, Department of Philosophy and Religion. My areas of specializations are philosophy of language and semantics discourse analysis. I studied that how language functions without any technology. It means if you emphasize on language through technology, the quality of the language will reduce down to many ways. Therefore, the use of language is not through technology. That should not be our account. Rather, language may be important and mother language may be important, but to learn other language, the pronunciation is important. If you can't pronounce, I think the technology cannot help us in that way. Again, it will also create some disintegration, social disintegration. That means we will confine to the particular territory or particular state. That is a problem. Again, I can state it about the Vinita Agrawal ma'am. She emphasized on technology is limitless. It is totally wrong, I can say. Because technology cannot be limitless. Technology is just a product of human potentiality. So it is just simply a minor part of human potentiality. You cannot grant that it is a technology is a limitless product. Rather, human
Right.
itself is a limitless being.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you.
I think let us stop there. They are important views. I think all of us have to think about them. Next question.
Namaste, sir.
I request the cameraman,
Sir, I am-
camera person to please focus on the questioner.
Sir, I am Dr. Vikramaditya Dave from Rajasthan. I am professor in electrical engineering in a State University of Government of Rajasthan. सर मेरा जो इशू है वो राजस्थान से संबंधित है कि राजस्थान आज भारत का सबसे बड़ा राज्य है क्षेत्रफल की दृष्टि से। आज 75 वर्ष हो चुके हैं, हम अमृतकाल का महोत्सव भी मना चुके हैं और अमृतकाल में हैं हम अभी, मगर हमारी राजस्थानी भाषा को आज भी मान्यता प्राप्त नहीं है। वहीं NEP 2020 इसके बारे में बार बार कह रहा है कि हम बच्चों को चाहे विश्वविद्यालय स्तर पर या विद्यालय के स्तर पर अपनी मातृभाषा में पढ़ाएं, और हमारी राजस्थानी भाषा का कहीं कहीं पता नहीं है सर। और बाहर के लोगों ने इस प्रकार की एक मानसिकता डाल रखी है कि यदि आप राजस्थानी बोलेंगे तो आप पिछड़े हुए हैं, आप छोटे वर्ग से हैं। तो इसके बारे में जबकि मैं बताता हूं कि सामाजिक आंदोलन भी हो चुके हैं, और जहां तक राजनीतिक चेतना का सवाल है, आज पिछले 10 साल से एक ही पार्टी के 25 MP हमारे राजस्थान से उसी पार्टी से हैं, लेकिन आज तक उसके बारे में कुछ नहीं हुआ। और प्रशासनिक स्तर पर भी AICT के वाइस चेयरमैन भी हमारे राजस्थान से थे, और UGC में भी कई हमारे लोग बैठे हुए हैं, लेकिन आज तक राजस्थानी भाषा को मान्यता प्राप्त नहीं हुई। सर इसके बारे में कुछ प्रकाश डालें।
Thank you. You see, ours is a democratic country, and what we do is based on the people's voice. And I'm sure voices like yours will definitely force all the governments to use our Bharatiya Bhashas in education and everywhere. Thank you.
नमस्ते नमस्ते।
भारतीय यूनिवर्सिटी मेरठ से मैं 2 प्रश्न जानना चाहती हूँ। जैसे अभी एक प्रश्न आया था कि बहुत सारी बोलियां हैं जिनके पास कोई लिपि नहीं है, स्क्रिप्ट नहीं है, तो क्या उन लिपियों की उनके लिए हम देवनागरी लिपि का प्रयोग कर सकते हैं? और एक दूसरा मेरा प्रश्न ये है कि हम जो यहाँ पे मेरे जैसे बहुत सारे लोग होंगे जो सोच रहे होंगे कि हम कैसे सहयोग कर सकते हैं आपके इस आंदोलन में, हम कैसे कोई क्रिएटिव काम कर सकते हैं, कोई सृजनात्मक काम कर सकते हैं, जैसे अनुवाद में, या मैं क्योंकि हिंदी से हूँ और मैं हिंदी को लेकर भी बात जानना चाहती हूँ। धन्यवाद।
So I think I had spoken about this. One is that कि जिनकी लिपि नहीं है उनको हम वॉइस से कैप्चर करने की कोशिश कर रहे हैं, और the point that whether Devanagari lipi should be used, we are still in early days for that. जब डेटा कलेक्ट हो जाएगा उसके बाद हमारे रिसर्चर्स हमको गाइड कर पाएंगे कि हम किस तरह से काम करें. The most important thing which you can help in this revolution is to actually be a part of the translator movement, or help us collect the data which will be able to train the AI model. So these are the 2 ways in which we are always seeking cooperation, and we would need your help on that.
Thank you very much. I think we have to stop here. We have to stop here because we are ending the session at 11:15.
Sir, last question.
No. We will talk later. Let me thank Dr. Vinita Agarwal, Shri Amitabh Nag, and Ms. Bani Paintal Dhawan, and more importantly, the audience for such wonderful questions and feedback. Let's give a big hand to all the panelists here. Thank you very much.